Welcome back to Small College Conversations presented by BlueFrame Technology. I'm Jim Abbott. I'm the founder of the Business of Small College Athletics, and I'm joined today by Harry Stinson. Harry is the athletic director at Lincoln University. And Harry, we're grateful to have you here today.
Oh, Jim, thank you. And thank you. I greatly appreciate you having me.
Well, we're going to have 25 or so minutes to share a little bit and hear some insights from you. And where I want to start with you, Harry, is I know that you have kind of a diverse background, that a variety of positions that you were in before you became an athletic director. And I wonder if you might talk about some of those stops that led to the AD's position, and then maybe talk about how versatility has been important in your job.
Definitely. And I can say that I've been thrust into leadership. So, it has been an evolving role, just trying to get to the seat and now staying in the seat. But a variety of lenses have led me to be able to see things from a variety of different positions. And, that's kind of the way that I've been able to lead. So, I started my career right out of grad school working at the SIAC conference office, a Division II conference office in Atlanta, and started out in communications as a SID. But, as folks left the position, I saw how I was connected to various different areas. So, I was doing a lot of things with communications, but, I was also helping out with the championships. I was also helping out with marketing. Going out and get sponsors, getting the games on television, so and putting on events. So, as folks left, I ended up becoming the director of championships, communications, and marketing, and that was my title because I held all three at the same time, and had an opportunity to also serve as interim commissioner for about 6 to 8 months at the SIAC, where we rewrote the bylaws, the sport by sport regulations, and I got my hand in compliance and got the eye of the chair of the President's Council at Kentucky State, Dr. Mary Sias. And she called me to come there and run their external operations. While doing that, and during my transition, the compliance person left. So she said, "Can you do compliance? Because you did the bylaws." So I had an opportunity to go there and be one of the original internal and external persons at the same time, running compliance as well as doing external operations at Kentucky State as assistant AD. And lucky enough, I had some various opportunities there where I got a chance to coach. I had started golf as a championship sport at the conference office. We had somebody, the golf coach actually passed away, and I took over for him and was the golf coach. And in my second year, ended up winning the conference championship and being the first team to actually make the NCAAs from the SIAC. So how ironic is that? But got a chance to coach some baseball as well when we was in transition between coaches. So as the AD says, I'm the head coach. I appoint the head coach to run that sport. So I got appointed during that time frame of transition, but it was fun. And I also got a chance to be a professor at Kentucky State. So, it led me to have opportunities where I could see things from a student athlete perspective, being a former Division I student athlete at Florida State. But as a coach, as a conference person, as a compliance, from marketing perspectives, I was able to see athletics and athletic administration from a variety of lenses that just led to different opportunities. I would be there for 6 years, the last 2 being the interim athletic director, before going on to help a friend out who was promoted to vice president of institution advancement. And institution advancement and still running athletics. So he called me and said, "Can you help me? You run athletics, I run institution advancement, and we marry these two together." And I did that for about 18 months before coming over to Lincoln to serve as that athletic director. So it's been a whirlwind over the last 15, 16 years, but at the same time, having my hands in different pots, being able to learn from different vantage points has really led to a great opportunity here at Lincoln University and me being able to serve as their athletic director.
Well, I think that's great, Harry. I think I tell people often, and I think you model this very well. Sometimes being in the right place,
Yeah, right.
but being of the attitude and having that versatility that allows you to say, well, of course I'll do external relations and compliance. I mean, that when you're young, you can do anything, but I just think it's so important that you have to do sometimes the mundane tasks that you don't really understand,
Right.
to really build yourself up and be prepared. And I want to expand on that because you had a lot of experiences in a lot of areas, and you used the word that were thrust upon you. I mean, they literally were thrust upon you. One day
Well,
your compliance and external relations, and the next day you're coaching the golf team. Well, but so when you finally became the athletic director at Lincoln, were there any areas, were there one or two things that you really just weren't prepared for despite all of those experiences?
I think my level of understanding, whenever you go into a job, you have to rethink your assumptions of your knowledge base versus other people's knowledge base. I came into a situation at Lincoln where we were just starting football. We were in year 7 of bringing back football after a 60-year hiatus. And,
Mm,
and so, having been a sports supervisor for football at Kentucky State, I knew the shelf life of different equipment and things, but quickly got an understanding that, my thought process was flawed a little bit because of the fact that I was thinking of ways that we had traditionally done things. So, when you buy a helmet that has a shelf life of 7 years, and if you buy shoulder pads, has 4 or 5 years, and they have to get reconditioned, but that changes when they bought things used or we got things donated and things, now we're spending money hand over foot just trying to catch up,
yeah.
and in the process of trying to grow and stuff. So, you know, the thing that I went into coming into this position was I assumed a lot from my own frame of reference. And, you got to come in and you got to ask the right questions and you got to get a baseline of where everything was, not to think wrongly of the decisions that was made prior to you getting there, but get an understanding of why those decisions were made. So, I quickly learned that I got to take a step back. Let's rethink this thing. Now let me game plan and create a plan to get us on the right foot on how we manage. And, we was able to do that fairly quickly, but that learning curve changed quickly, just trying to get a baseline of, okay, what do we have? What do we got? What do we got? What's next? Uh,
It's a great point. Despite your experiences, every institution, every department has its strengths and weaknesses and
mhm.
idiosyncrasies and things that you have to deal with. So what would you say? What's the hardest part of your job as an athletic director, and maybe what's your favorite part?
I would say the hardest part is dealing with people, and my favorite part is dealing with people. Uh, I love going to games. I love watching folks develop and see their matriculation from being a freshman to crossing that stage with that degree in hand, or watching young coaches or seasoned coaches learn and grow, and watching your department grow. But then also, the biggest headache is, getting everybody to understand that there's a bigger picture than just your sport or just your season, and managing everybody's expectations. So, it's hard to be everything to everybody sometimes. But at the end of the day, that's your job as the AD, is to figure out how to succeed and get everybody else on the same page to succeed, individually as well as collectively. So it's a pain sometimes, but also it's very rewarding to watch it unfold in front of your eyes. So it's one and the same.
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree with you more. That's the that's the perfect answer. The hard part is dealing with people, and the best part is dealing with people, and
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense to me. So your career has primarily been spent at HBCUs,
Mhm.
starting with the SciAC conference. Tell me a little bit about what's great about working at an HBCU, and what maybe you think are some of the misperceptions that the world might have about HBCUs.
Yeah, I think, especially in today's times as we're adjusting to social issues and everything else, HBCUs have been looked upon as, inferior or sometimes even just devalued. But, HBCUs have a great history amongst them with some great athletes and some great people. But, I think it sometimes get a bad rap, from internal and external. But the thing that I love about HBCUs is the resiliency and the ability to grow in a number of different ways. Because at the end of the day, everybody has resources that they wish that they had. I mean, even Ohio State and everybody wish they had more money, more this and more that. So you're not going to solve that problem by going from a small school or a big school or HBCU to a predominantly white institution. It's really just how do you manage what you have and being able to make it better. And so it really just how things and folks operate. And I've loved the opportunities. I've had some great presidents that I've worked for, some very knowledgeable people that have been able to show and lend me some ideas on how to manage and be a great leader. So, HBCUs have been great. I've met some great people like Tim Duncan, that's at University of New Orleans. He's come and worked as an AD at Payne College, a Division II school in Augusta, Georgia, or um, Dr. Tamika Smith Jones, or Anton Golf that's at NIU. So, it's just folks have come through, have been able to excel, have had opportunities to do a lot of things and impress upon the industry. And you can do that wherever you go. But
Yeah.
don't forget about the opportunities that's at HBCUs.
Yeah, I think that's great. I had the chance to come and speak to your conference a couple
Hmm.
ago, and I was very impressed with the professional level of the folks that were in the room. And you bring up Tim Duncan. I just think the world of Tim, and
Yeah.
so I appreciate you sharing that. Now I want to talk about a subject that I wish we didn't have to talk about, which is the fact that racial injustice and inequities sort of
Hmm.
be prevalent and more visible maybe than ever. And I wonder, how do you deal with this on your campus, and maybe what advice you might have for other collegiate athletic administrators?
Yeah, and it's a lot different at HBCU because everybody's on campus is primarily a minority of a sense. So even those who are majority background, they're also a minority on that campus. So it's honing your voice and being able to manage how you respond versus react to the things and being able to become a leader. And one of the things that we've done is provide a voice, a platform for students to be able to say, okay, these are the things that I'm going through. Let me bring in campus police to speak to you specifically on how to manage and cope and build relationships and community build and community police and talk about a variety of different sources of things about being Black in your community and where you're from, and changing the landscape of what a minority person looks like. Changing the narrative of an educated minority. So, and that's been the biggest key, is providing that platform, giving folks resources. How do you communicate? How do you manage? What are you supposed to do? And you know, having those candid and fierce conversations has been great because everybody sees that everybody has to talk and everybody has to listen. And it's not just, okay, let me create something to, just cover this issue. No, it is a long going conversation because at the end of the day, folks need resources and need to be able to put themselves in a position to understand how I think and how you think and how you see things from a variety of different perspectives. And that's been key for us.
I think perspective is so important, Harry. I'm just going to admit to you that for me, um, I've had to come to grips with how inadequate my perspective is. That
Mhm.
it asked me, feeling on your campus, I would say I think it's great. I think we're all doing great.
Yeah.
But that's a perspective of a middle-aged or older white guy
Hmm.
who can't, who maybe didn't take advantage of that opportunity to converse with Black or other minority students and truly understand what their perspective was,
Right.
maybe how lonely they might be that they didn't feel like they were surrounded by people who could understand where they
Yeah.
came from. So I'm determined to continue conversations and determined to do whatever we can to educate and talk about that, because I think we're making progress, but I think not nearly enough. So uh, I had wondered whether I wanted to talk to you about coronavirus or not. It has truly been a challenging,
Yes.
a big challenge to overcome. But I do want to just ask you, how have things gone on your campus? What are you projecting in the days ahead? And just how are you guys dealing with it?
I mean, we're dealing with it every day, one step at a time, just trying to figure out how to get to the next day. We are fortunate where our students are able to stay on campus and not have a lot of interference. So if you come to Lincoln, there are no apartments for you to go live in and be outside of the community and come back in. Everybody stays on campus, so we can control what's going on within the walls of Lincoln, which has been great for us because we've had limited cases or limited exposure and can manage that a little bit. You know, we had our first basketball game this past Tuesday, and didn't have crowds, so that was a different feel. And it's okay. What's next? How do we manage? Okay, cool. Now Philadelphia is shutting down. States around us are shutting down. What are we gonna do? Well, right now is business as usual. Just trying to ensure everybody's safe. We're getting tested. We are doing all the right things, and we're able to keep everybody in a quote unquote bubble. So things are going okay. And, as more and more data comes out, we'll adjust. But I'm happy for the position that we're in to be able to have some context, because I think our young people should have the opportunity to compete, especially if they're on campus and practicing. So I feel like we're in a good place, and hopefully we can keep that trend going as cases continue to rise.
I don't think I've ever used the word hope or hopefully more than I have the past few months. We literally draw up plans on Tuesday and change them on Wednesday.
Correct.
And so good for you. I'm glad that you've had competitions.
Task force is the key. Task
Yeah,
force and
yeah,
constant communication.
it is. It's sometimes just hard even getting a consensus on, I heard this or I saw that.
Yeah.
How does that impact us? And as you mentioned, the possibility exists that there may be an entity outside of yours and beyond your control that's going to tell you you can't do it.
Right. Right.
And
And
that
that's the
has
hard
already
part.
occurred. Yeah.
That's the hard part.
You hinted at, you suggested that even people at Ohio State complain that they don't have enough money. I you agree. And I would assume one of your answers to this next question is about money, but what do you think one or two of the biggest issues are in college athletics now?
Managing the expectations surrounding everybody's resources. Everybody looks at the money that's involved in college athletics and think that everybody's making a profit or everybody's taking advantage of the students. And at the end of the day, I mean, we are really trying to find services to manage the student, because at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that they matriculate. And what I call athletics on our campus, it is not sports. It is not that. It is the professional development of students. It's a laboratory for the professional development of students. So, we take the things that happen in the classroom, apply to a game, because there's a formula to figure out how to throw a ball 30 yards at the right speed and the right angle to hit that wide receiver. And same thing to hit a 3-point shot. So we're taking all the things that the students are learning and then putting it into practice for a game or a competition. So, it's really just trying to get an understanding of how to be better in those spaces.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the final question, we're going to be a little lighter. Here we are. We have made it to the Christmas season, and I wonder if you have any memories in your time working in sports, any particular holiday memories that relate to your time.
Really around this time, it's not really working in sports, but I love this time of year, that Thanksgiving to Christmas time when, the seasons are all on the line, and you sit back with family and you gather around the TV to watch 9 bowl games in the same day. Or you turn the channel, there's the Maui tournament in basketball, or the playoffs are going on in the NBA, NFL, and everything else. So, or the start of the NBA, and outside of this year, it was the finals. But it's you're watching all of the sports culminate or start, and it's in this time of year, and I love it, and I just enjoy it all except for that 1 or 2 times when you have that basketball game on New Year's Eve, and so you just got to
Yes.
try to hopefully you adjust the schedule. But um, yeah, I love that time of the year, just being with family and enjoying contests, and watching the kids, because at that time they don't have classes, or so it's all about their sport for a little bit, all about family and friendships, and that's the best memory that I have.
Well, that's a great one. Now, are you telling me that your policy and procedures manual does not require coaches to avoid games in the window between December 25th and January, whatever?
I'm working on that. I've been lucky the last 2 years that has not occurred. So I'm trying to make it a trend now. But it's great. That's the one great thing about being in Division II. You do have those 7 days off, and
Yeah.
it's hard pressed for a team to come back on the 28th and try to have a game on the 29th or the 30th. So, yay, yay,
Yeah.
Division II. You got it right.
But and I know, and folks looking to get into our business ought to know that there are a lot of weekends, there are a lot of
Yeah.
holidays, there's a lot of nights, and it truly is a lifestyle. And I agree with you. That is one of the great things about the holidays. There's no shortage of opportunities to watch games, and even for me to watch games that don't really impact my life, so I can
Mm-hmm.
enjoy it. It really doesn't matter who wins or loses.
Yeah, but I make it a point that during this time frame, especially when we have these opportunities, to infuse your family into our games and everything. It's not going to be as big as crowds and everything.
Yeah.
So bring your kids, bring your family, come to the games. Let them be the ball girls and ball boys, and if your wife wants to help cheerlead, or husband wants to help do this, you know, infuse your family into this time, because we spend so many weekends and nights away. It's good to infuse them into your everyday day of life.
I agree, and especially at our level, that ought to be a natural
Yeah.
opportunity to take advantage of. Well, Harry, our time has gone by quickly. I cannot thank you enough for taking time to share some of your experiences and insights with us. And again, I'm just determined to spotlight men like you who give back so much and do so many awesome things in our profession. In closing, I have to thank BlueFrame Technology again, who has really seen how important this is to provide opportunities like Small College Conversations. I encourage you to check in each month. We'll have a new conversation with a different administrator. And again, Harry, thank you so much for joining us today.
And I thank you. Appreciate it.